We all know who Milo Yianapoulos is, the snarky debater with controversial opinions. However, he's been really quiet for quite a while now. And in today's video, we'll be looking at the elephant in the room and discussing what happened to Milo Yianapoulos, and taking a look at why you no longer hear from him. And without further ado, let's dive straight into today's video. Number 1. Community guidelines. Something Milo Yianapoulos is famous for is harassing people on Twitter and Facebook. However, these sites have become less and less welcoming for people like Yianapoulos. Overall, places like Twitter tend to shadow ban people that don't comply with their terms of service. However, Twitter did not just shadow ban Yianapoulos, they removed him from the platform completely. In short, Milo has been deplatformed by sites like Facebook and Twitter that no longer tolerate the content he used to put out. Here's an example of said content in which he called the actress of a popular movie fat and ugly.
You wrote a scathing review about Ghostbusters.
I thought it was quite measured. It's just that everybody else was lying that they liked the movie when nobody really did.
And then what happened?
So I exchanged some words with Leslie Jones, one of the leads, who I was unimpressed with. Like, I was unimpressed with all of them. I cracked some jokes. I was mean and bitchy, like I always am. And if I crack a few jokes at a Hollywood megastar's expense, so what?
So I printed out a couple of those. Just
go right
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, so
I posted them. I'm sure I'm
right.
fine.
So
yeah, I said the women in it were fat and.
As you can see, Milo isn't holding back on any of the words he's saying and completely doubles down on his tweet.
And ugly and fat, and they are, and I'll tell you why I find this problematic. We've started to marginalize traditional beauty standards, you know. Now what we're expected to do is to celebrate body positivity and you know, that it's okay to abuse their bodies, to run the risk of horrible diseases and awful chronic conditions and to die sooner. That's horrible. What I'm trying to do is draw attention to a critique of what's happening in mainstream beauty culture, and that comes from compassion about what the messages we're sending to young girls.
So is that compassionate though, saying they're fat, ugly?
The piece.
Number 2. The media. One thing we can agree on is that the media likes to stay relevant. They like to bring fresh content to engage with audiences that will be interested in said content. A simple look at the most basic source of relevancy, Google Trends of course. We can see that interest in Milo Yianapoulos peaked in January of 2017, and since then it has had a massive downfall. Media was what made Milo Yianapoulos, well, him. And without the attention he was given from the media, he might as well just be another person on Facebook talking about politics. Media no longer focuses on trolls and opinions, and that applies to people like Milo Yianapoulos as well as people like Mike Cernovich. If you don't stay relevant, the media won't cover you, and you need to be covered by the media to stay relevant. Number 3. Pedophilia claims. Recently, a clip emerged of Milo Yianapoulos saying some quite messed up things in a podcast called Drunken Peasants. In this podcast, he talked about some insanely weird and creepy things, including but not limited to, saying that if a 13-year-old consents to sexual relationships, it's okay. And these are his words, quote, "Pedophilia is not a sexual attraction to somebody 13 years old who is sexually mature," end quote. But rather that, quote, "Pedophilia is attraction to children who have not reached puberty," end quote. As you could probably guess, it all went downhill after he made these insane remarks. Firstly, he lost his job at Breitbart, and after the publisher for his newly written autobiography heard these comments, they dropped the book deal. He tried to defend his comments by saying that he himself had been a victim of sexual assault and that these wild comments were just a weird coping mechanism for him. Nevertheless, this didn't help his case at all. But perhaps the most interesting thing about this entire video isn't the reasons why you don't hear from him anymore, but rather what he's doing now. After being completely deplatformed by Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Milo had no option but to resort to other, less popular social medias like Telegram and Parler. However, now he only has a small fraction of the followers he used to have. On Twitter, he used to boast over 700,000 followers, and now he nearly has 19,000 on Telegram. He's also filming weekly videos for a subscription channel run by far-right commentator Gavin McInnes. That seems to be about it. Milo even said in an interview with Forbes magazine that he now struggles to put food on the table. He also tells Vice that he's clinging on for dear life. He closed his Vice interview saying, quote, "It's years too late. The time to act was when I got booted off Twitter. Nobody did," end quote. It seems like Milo is regretting some of his past choices and really wished he still had the same situation he did 3 to 5 years ago, both financially and mentally. Milo has been deplatformed. He no longer has a way to grow, and as you can see from the statements he's been giving to the media, he's desperate for anything. But I guess what goes around comes around. Anyways, that brings us to the end of this video. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content like this being sent straight to your sub box. With that being said, thanks for watching and we hope to see you soon. Goodbye.